I had heard maybe towards the end of 2019, maybe early 2020, that Ring of Honor flew like the entire roster in for a meeting and was like, hey, we want your input. We want to know what you guys want to change. Had you seen anything like that in your time there? And did you have any specifics that you contributed? Because I had a lot of wrestlers that were like, oh, they implemented a lot of our suggestions.
Yeah, it was one of those things where with all the drama and stuff that was going around at the time, Ring of Honor just had a lot of bad publicity on it, and it was one of those things where it's like, all right, we need to like set this ship in the right direction. So literally everybody came in, and there was a big, dry erase board and a marker, and one of the employees was just up there writing everything down and
Nice.
all the different things we could be doing. I definitely a lot of the stuff that that was mentioned is coming to fruition.
More Ian Riccaboni elbow drops.
Yes. One of the big things that I was a fan of was the catering. Here and there we would be they would, oh, hey, we got you guys this from such and such, or oh, hey, we got you some Subway or something like that. But then it became a point where in 2020 all our shows were fully catered, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And like, I'm a vegetarian, so a lot of times I can't eat some of the stuff that most of the other people eat. And not only am I a vegetarian, but I'm very picky eater about what I'm putting into my body as far as like carbohydrates and sugar and stuff goes. So I remember the last show that we actually had, I believe it was in St. Louis, or I think it was in St. Louis, but they had veggie burgers there that day, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's veggie burgers, and dude, I was just going to town. It was no buns though, so it was all good.
I love hearing that. I love hearing that they took that type of thing into consideration. I kept hearing good things throughout the pandemic when I'm reaching out to wrestlers, trying to get some scoops, trying to get some news, and they're like, man, ROH is treating us good. They're taking care of us. They haven't pressured us to do like anything out of our comfort zone. And that's very refreshing to hear, considering the way that some other places handled things. I think that speaks very highly of Ring of Honor.
Yeah, the thing was like when we went out to Las Vegas for the pay-per-view and the television tapings, like I got off the plane and I saw Grizzly Redwood and Cheeseburger. I was like, hey, what's up, guys? They're like, hey, you check your email yet? I'm like, no. They're like, the shows are canceled. I'm like, what? Like just knowing the amount of money that it costs to put on a pay-per-view production and the satellite time and flying everybody out to Las Vegas and the rooms for a few days, and they had catering lined up, and all this stuff comes into play, and it's just like, man, they just canceled it all. Like, I guess this coronavirus thing, I guess this is really something, to be worried about. And then like, so we go home and it's like, you're like, all right, well, I guess like 2 weeks like locked up, just to relax and kind of cool down. That won't be that bad. And all of a sudden 2 weeks turns into 2 months, and you're like, oh boy, Ring of Honor shows are canceled, and there was really no talk of like when we were going back to work, but they were making sure that everybody felt good and everybody was paid. So that was definitely refreshing. And you see all these other companies are still going on with their operations, and they're doing temperature checks and stuff like that, and the testing really wasn't that accurate at that point, so nobody really had the COVID testing. So Ring of Honor was just like, hey guys, we want to make sure that we have all our T's crossed and our I's dotted, because we don't want to see any of you guys getting sick. We don't want to jeopardize anybody's families, anything like that. So they waited until August until they knew a lot more about the coronavirus, and there was even talks about even bringing the tapings to Florida or like Tennessee, one of those more open states. But they decided to go with Maryland because even prior to the pandemic or coronavirus or anything, Maryland State Athletic Commission is one of the most strictest, the most strict commissions in all of professional wrestling. So they wanted to do it with them to make sure that everybody was safe beyond belief, and really taken care of. And from I just took my pre-travel test yesterday, and then you get there, you take another test, and you're up in your room for a few days by yourself, and just kind of hanging out. And then before you wrestle, you got to take another test. And before each match, the canvases are changed out, and the ropes are all wiped down, sanitized. They go through 15 canvases in a day. It's and they give us all money so we can order food to our rooms, and we don't leave anywhere. So we got a per diem per each day. And man, like, there's temperature checks at the door as well. So if you were feeling a little under the weather, they don't want to risk it at all. So they really everywhere you go to, hand sanitizers here, and you got to wear your mask the whole time as well. So
and we saw that affect Final Battle too. They were like, we're not risking this. We got big stars on this show. They had a big match, EC3 and Jay Briscoe, and they were like, it sucks, but we can't do it. And and it worked out for him in the long run. EC3 signed there, and he even told me, he was like, oh, I owe it to them, the fans, and Jay to do that match. But it's good that they were worried about my safety too.
Yeah, it's crazy because you spend all this money advertising the pay-per-view and the matches on the pay-per-view, and then you get pay-per-view and it's like, well, we gotta do a little something different here. So and even with Bandito and Flamita, they were the 6-man tag champions, and every title was supposed to be on the line at Final Battle. But hey, plans change, and it's just I feel like if this would have happened like 15, 20 years ago, where this pandemic hit professional wrestling, people wouldn't be taking the proper steps to keep everybody safe. Whereas now it's a whole lot different. And I'm very, very thankful for the steps and the caution that Ring of Honor has taken to keep the whole company, the staff, the crew, the wrestlers, everybody safe during the pandemic.